Good morning, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here from Maui, Hawaii. Today, September 3rd, 2021. I hope you're well wherever you may be sitting, standing. Today's talk, somewhat personal, keeping the spirit. And I have some idea of 10 points of inspiration and meaning. Essence, keeping the spirit. And I know all of us, by and large, are challenged, perhaps like never before. Obviously, it comes and goes, not really going, but comes and escalates and builds. The uncertainty, the complexities. There's hopes, there's dreams. Time keeps on ticking. The world, so strange. It's always been so strange, and it just feels so strange. And there's this place in the spirit, I don't know whether it's an instinct. The instinct to keep on keeping on? Is there such an instinct? The instinct to keep on becoming? Is it the instinct to ascend? Is it the deep felt reality of spirit, wanting to merge with the archetypal goddess mother, this instinct for freedom, something inside the human mind and body that I think all of us at some point, if not even more so in this week, today, touch this very primordial force. I call it the spirit, call it the Dhamma, the Dharma, call it the instinct for ascension, holiness, enlightenment, that the deepest flow of the heart to make good on the promise of this invisible yet so discernible spirit fabric that we're embedded. The intelligence of this spirit fabric, the central guidance, the central wisdom. There must be a guidance, an intelligence, a holy grail within the spirit itself, moving the muscles of eternity into some coordination to realize its own existence in context to the larger existence. I don't like making dogmatic sense in the struggle to be real. I like these sessions for myself, and I know that you're here based on your own volition, as a way to engage this oddity, this mystery, this complexity on a daily basis, a meditation in shared space, and trying to bring the best of myself to the forefront of my own existence. And today I just keep feeling this thing of keeping the spirit. And what does it mean not to keep the spirit? Does it mean to descend into some form of shadow or darkness or depression? Those aren't wrong things. Does it mean wanting to take my own life, to mindfully euthanize? That's not a wrong thing. Does it really mean like wanting to make good on the promise of another life? That's nothing wrong with that. wanting to escape, 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 just disappear, disappear, disappear. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with those shadows. What's this presumption to be so happy, to be so positive, to be so wickedly, predictably fun and joyous in the midst of this incredible horror, beauty? I can't shake my family in Burma from my spirit. When I think about keeping the spirit, these points, I want to wake in the day to anoint the things that I care about with grace, with courage, with ethical wisdom. The innate sanctity of another day, essence days, blessed to be in choice, blessed to interact, blessed to be sheltered, blessed to be fed. The innate sanctity of another day. Do I inhabit the basics of being with high regard? Do I anoint the privilege of the day with creative manifestation, perpetually advancing your emotional ideas, your psychological formations, your most special qualities of heart? Do you wake to live in the privilege of that presence? Breaking the coma of ordinary. I don't know what you do when you wake in the morning and you anoint yourself with your 10 hymns, your 10 commandments, your 10 attributes of high regard for that which you consider the highest regard. We weep and we weep and we weep when we lose someone dear to us. And each of us are dying every minute. It's our birthright to die. Do you do it so well that you disregard anything that's unnecessary? Keeping life and death ever present in every moment, is that really something that we should consider? Is your Dharma heart and your life and your art all mixed in with mortality? Always cut back to the nanosecond of any given moment being. It's just so hard to even get out. The end, the end. To be quite frank, I sometimes really yearn for the end of what I see and feel and know. It's a very diabolical thought to want to exit from one space and anoint and ascend into another. I don't mean suicide or euthanasia, but that crazy compulsion of the spirit to want to break free from the gravity of yet another predictable hour, day, month, conversation. Dying is your birthright. Do it as frequently as required to overcome all things unnecessary. Illuminate the elusive world of the subconscious. Illuminating the elusive world of the subconscious. I had a thought the other day, just a little an aside here, to do a solo exhibition of my most sacred secrets in a kind of surrealistic dystopian collage where it would be very difficult to even know what secret was being revealed. And I noticed, okay, just get right to the core. What would be an exhibition of your most sacred secrets? And I wrote down a list of 20. I invite you to anoint keeping the spirit with this deep yearning to learn, to excavate and to elevate. Look into the past and include all of our lifetimes from before, memories and conditions, to live backwards and forwards and simultaneously up and down and beyond. In a world without absolutes, there is no heaven and hell, and ultimately up and down and north and south and center and peripheral. We are in this eternal, boundless complexity where you can't escape the molecules of consciousness, like being in the water yesterday, submerged in the water. You're in the water. You must navigate water. We're in this space navigating the spirit. We're navigating perception. We're navigating consciousness. We're navigating hope and fear and mortality and illness and disease and all the various things that every day of our life we see and feel, we smell and we taste, and we're compelled by instinct to continue to participate day after hour after month until the final moment of the last heartbeat, the last in or out breath, and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. How many times I've been remembering in the last couple of months, teachers in Burma looking at the dove or the bird or the snake or the centipede or the ant, the pigeon, and seeing all these different life forms and thinking that somehow you're separate from those life forms. Birth and death and rebirth and birth and rebirth and re-death, constantly evolving in this metaphorical shadow dance of light meeting darkness. What are we doing here? What makes the day really meaningful? How do you keep the spirit? Baptize your integrity with adventurous wonderment. Live in freedom. Use your liberty no matter what to help and support the liberty of others. I know a couple of years back when I was in Burma, I went out to the most impoverished area of the city. I was taken out there by some friends, and it's just one of the things that I've really enjoyed doing over the years, tragic as it is, to go to places in foreign countries where very few people ever go. This is an area of several 100,000 people where there is virtually no running water, there's no toilets, there's no bathing, there's no showers. There's a central well for maybe 10 or 15,000 people. Most everything is on stilts because of the stench and the water and the mud and the mosquitoes and the dengue and the malaria. It's really wicked to see impoverishment at this level. And there we were walking and meandering through, and slowly you'd hear through the crowd of the kids, mostly kids, because the parents are in the city at the time building 5-star condominiums and hotels and bridges and dams. And the kids are left with the kids that are maybe a year or two older. And there they were, impoverished, many of them with bellies that were extended and those dark eyes sunk deep into their head from malnutrition and red hair. And yet there was this deep sense of smile in so many of them. Maybe I was reading into them, but there was a kind of joy. They were keeping the spirit against all odds. And it was like so fascinating to me to see, not my privilege, I don't want to denigrate my privilege, but the disparity of lifestyle. And this relative thing that I have going on of keeping the spirit, 10 most meaningful sources of inspiration and essence and meaning and the complexity of the day. I want to break the habit of ordinary, the spontaneity, the improvisational. Don't we all want to make love in the most natural, beautiful way? What are your highest desires? Is that one of your 10 most important mantras of meaning in the sky of your hope? Keeping desire alive? What does it mean to be a child in an impoverished area and to have a desire, to have a vision, to have a hope. And I'm thinking like, oh my God, what will I do this month? I want to move into something what? I want to be somewhere, but where? I want to be with whom, but whom? I want to be doing, but what? And this sense of perpetual movement, it brings me right back to my monastic life and the privilege of taking arrival out of space. Keeping the spirit is so much about the quality of the things that I do. And so I've made a point every day these days, despite my hesitancy to hurtle down the side of this mountain 11 miles to the beachfront, to park and to navigate all these crazy, wild, different people and their different dimensions of expression. And there I am in the wild light and the wind and the ocean, and I'm walking and I'm going like, keep pushing the sky away. Nick is in my head and the wind is blowing and the future of my future is being determined by my choices. And where will I go? What will I do? Who will I be with? Fight off the predilections of fear and mortality and the diagnosis of mortality, all the various ways you carry the shadow of the past into the present, but they're there, they're natural. What are you doing with this life? I've finished some place in this life. I've come to the conclusion in the last couple of hours, I feel there's something that has been concluded. Illuminate the elusive world of the subconscious. And I dove down deep in there. What are you saying, really? I want to shed. I want to molt. I want to metamorphically release skins that are no longer valid, ideas, personality structures, pretenses. The incredible pretense that I feel sometimes is just simply the absence of creative vulnerability. I want to drop in a safe way and see what comes from the low dose of my experience with God. There's things that I want to experiment with deep in my soul, but what? You need protection, you need finances, you need food, you need attendance. Mortality sucks. We've got to constantly feed and bathe and sleep and deal with the medical condition of health. I want to transcend form. I want to transcend the body. I want to be in a numismatic field of angels and devas and make love without the fear of time and flesh. And yes, I can do tantra, I can do eroticism, yes, I can do all the various things. I've empowered consciousness like you have. I've empowered sex throughout my life. I've empowered silence. But it's not really enough right now. Do you ever want to hear yourself speak out loud and to break the patterns of predictable pretense of ordinary? When you really take a high dose of acid or DMT or MEO, what are you really searching for inside, Alan? To break out. Is it the enlightenment urge and these poetic sharings of elusive spontaneity? What are you trying to get to deep in your own sonic heart? Probably overcoming loneliness. Nothing wrong with loneliness. There's something about high fidelity communion that gives light to loneliness in a new way. Yes, you could be with anyone almost, yes. But to really feel sanctity at a fine level, communication I used to love psychotherapy. I used to love being with a psychiatrist. I used to love being with my therapist. I used to love being with those sitters in MDMA and DMT and acid. I love those special moments in meditative silence, 3, 6, 7, 8 months in with Seda U Pandita and Mahasi Seda and Seda Uja. I love the communion of the ineffable, right? One of my 10 points, communing in the ineffable. Call it the artistry of the soul, the cry of the spirit, the cathedral of hope, the visionary quest to anoint our life with the most extraordinary experiences. Experiences of what? Authenticity released into freedom. Use your liberty. Live in freedom. Don't seek freedom. Be the freedom that you seek. And what will you do? I wish you could see the papers. I wish you could see the ways in which I speak to myself. I wish you could see inside of my own mind and touch and anoint and make love with the most intimate places of consciousness upon consciousness. Are you willing to get real in the cathedral of your own being and do something radically poetic and special with your presence in such a way that you keep the spirit alive in your ways that you find essence and inspiration and meaning? You find your voice. I think it's the quest inside that's deeply connected to creative compassion, fused with the liberty to support the freedom and the vision of others. I walked through those places in Burma, in Hlangthea, in the neighboring townships, and I saw those boys and girls, 20 of them, 30 of them, 50 of them following us. Many of them didn't even know when they were born. None of them had read a book. They'll never go to school. And there they live 3 years from this day. Some alive, some dead, some diseased. Their parents now not even working. The country shut down under a totalitarian blanket of oppression. When I think of the Buddha's first noble truth, the truth of suffering, the truth of dukkha, how can we not weep as a way to keep on keeping the spirit alive? The power and the elegance of tears, of vulnerability, of uncertainty. I mean, if we really normalized the context of life, and we felt the cry of the cow or the chicken or the pig being slaughtered, the death and the torture of young girls in Burma being raped and tortured at this moment by maniacal policemen and prison officials beholding to the toxic ideology of a dictator. Why do we have to contend with that? Why do we have to build weapons of destruction and nuclear weapons and drone? Why? This first noble truth of the Buddhist teachings. If I really felt that place of suffering, all I want to do for the next year, and I pray it comes true as I end this talk today, I'm looking to go inward. I'm looking to go inward. I want to anoint everything in my spirit with the most special characteristics of love, self-respect, and teasing from the fabrics of ignorance, the wisdom of release of fear and shame and worry. I want to feel the most sensitive, unknown aspects of my own soul now that I've been told that I'm on the precipice of death. I see a hospice nurse coming up this week. I will be seeking her wisdom and her grace and her support for a vision, a shared vision, I hope, and to be supported in the actualization of trusting my deepest instincts in Dhamma, and to do what I feel is true for me, and to live in the integrity of that truth regardless of its need to conform to the ideas of other, no matter how culturally, spiritually sanctioned they may be. Break correctness, Alan, break correctness. Live in the integrity of you. And I'm right there at that precipice of life and death right now. I've never felt it more acutely, especially now that I'm on the horizon of another move, moving somewhere at some point soon into, I hope, the fidelity of a sanctified monastic creative temple of retreat from forms and ordinary conversations, and to abide in the most radical expression of my Dhamma that I've ever had a chance to experience. I want to give myself a final gift, and maybe I'll have many final gifts, but I want to give myself a final 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 6 month gift coming up very, very soon, to dive as deeply into, which has been one of my most important of my 10 sources of inspiration, the fascination with consciousness, with intimacy and creative freedom. The fascination with consciousness, intimacy, and creative freedom. I want to document the evidence of my spirit meeting its most elegant, nuanced self, emptiness of self, creative connection to the transformation of ignorance from wisdom. I want to understand the most wise elements of my own being in context to my own consciousness, my memory, my hopes, and my dreams. I want to meet and anoint myself in the most ineffable way with the most special, dignified, conscience-rooted qualities of consciousness in this lifetime. I want to be my own molecule of transformational awakening. I want to enter a sacred meditative space. Thank you for allowing me, thank you for supporting me and just spontaneously sharing the only way that I know, in the absence of, the existential psychiatrist, psychotherapist, or intimate lover, to just delve into the unexplainable, mysterious artistry of the soul. I don't know how you talk to yourself, but this is how I talk to myself, how I write from those places of the inarticulate nature of my own existential heart. I have to come to those places of greater clarity because decisions need to be made. And right now, it's not necessarily in form. I want to go in deeper than I've ever gone before. And I want to discover something that I've never discovered before. I want to know the most secret, beautiful qualities of my own mind. And so from my heart to yours, if you hear a message somewhere in this that touches you, yes, you can do all that you can to support my own quest to develop a home, a creative environment of safety and security, and ultimately where I can live and abide and go inward and feel and illuminate the evidence of my own ongoing challenge, if you will, to keep on keeping the spirit alive. It's a very ephemeral vision right now for me, very, very vulnerable vision. So from my heart to yours, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being in my life, and hope to see you tomorrow, God willing. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.